Michael Eric Dyson is a professor of sociology at Georgetown and the author of Is Bill Cosby Right, or Has the Black Middle Class Lost Its Mind? He's in our Washington bureau. It's great to see you today.
Good to see you.
In the story that we just heard from Jim Axelrod, we heard Renee Graham calling Bill Cosby a finger-wagging moralist. You've written an awful lot about Bill Cosby's position up on that soapbox, preaching to African Americans about their behavior. How devastating is now this latest indictment against him, criminal charges?
Yeah, it's a pretty stunning reversal of fortune for a man who occupied the stratosphere of not only black iconic space, but he really was an American hero. If Ronald Reagan was the grandfather of America in the 80s, then Bill Cosby was the father of America, a perch that no black man before him had ascended to. And in fact, that show, The Cosby Show, paved the way, arguably in part, for the rise of Barack Obama. In terms of accepting the authority of a black man in public space. So Bill Cosby did an incredible job of pioneering, black, identity on screen. And this reversal of fortune is stunning because in recent days, in the last 10 years at least, he's been given to kind of a public moralist position where he is, as Ms. Graham said, wagging his finger and pointing it and indicting the moral lapses of poor black people. It's one thing to engage in a kind of moralizing discourse, yet another to indict people so bitterly and to accuse them of all manner of moral shortcomings and sabotaging their own ethical standards. And now he ends up, if these charges are true that we've heard over the last couple of years, and if this indictment today holds up, then Bill Cosby himself has been the greatest, if you will, offender of the very ideals that he has promulgated.
If he was pivotal in helping to create a modern black identity, especially a modern professional black identity, how damaging is the criminal indictment against him for modern black professionals?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think on the one hand, hopefully we're racially mature enough to believe that Bill Cosby doesn't indict an entire group. However, given the symbolic value and the iconic status he occupies, there is suspicion and skepticism among some who might say, I don't care how much you give them, those folk will end up, toppling over their own empire, so to speak, and you can take them and put them in good situations and they'll still mess up. I mean, there may be some of that as a blowback to what Mr. Cosby has done. But I think people see it as a real tragic situation, a kind of King Lear-like situation. Lear said, I've been more sinned against than sinning. And in this case, he's probably sinning more than he's been sinned against.
Well, and speaking of sin, the image never leaves me of Jimmy Swaggart on his knees, tears streaming down his face, saying, I have sinned.
Right. How
much more it is when you're the preacher who has sinned, as opposed to just a regular Joe who wasn't trying to judge anybody. Do you see a connection here? Is there a correlation between Bill Cosby's public moralizing and the private assaults as alleged?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, here you are standing up on your soapbox and your bully pulpit and you're lacerating people. You're lambasting them. You're beating them down. And you're saying all manners of stuff about what they're doing and their pathology and how they failed to raise their children and the like and how they speak. I mean, horrible assaults upon poor black people. And I think that even the judge who decided to release the transcripts from the depositions said he did so in part because Bill Cosby had made himself vulnerable because he was a public moralist. So not only is there a symbolic link between the two, there's a literal link between his own finger-pointing, moralizing, and the decision of the judge to let these transcripts go that ultimately may have led to Mr. Cosby's downfall.
I'm not asking you here as a legal expert, but it's interesting that we've spent so much time in the last few months talking about justice and how justice does not serve the black community in the United States of America, and how many people who've been prosecutors have said there's such vast leeway for prosecutors in front of a grand jury to get what they want. And so when charges are not filed, it's because the prosecutor didn't want them. In this case, the prosecutor who declined to file charges against Bill Cosby originally said there wasn't enough evidence, has lost his election bid to become again the district attorney. And instead, the man who's run on Bill Cosby, and the failure to indict Bill Cosby back then is the man who's the real driving force in this county to get criminal charges here. How important is it that the nation's elected district attorneys stand up and do the right thing?
It's an extremely valuable point that you just made, which is why it's bitterly ironic, even paradoxical, that the day after the prosecutors in Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, have refused to press charges or file charges and hold accountable the two police who killed a 12-year-old Tamir Rice, the very next day, Bill Cosby is held to account for alleged actions that he will now stand before the court to answer for. So if we could get that same kind of justice, the same impulse to punish black people, to protect them. And I think in this case, you're absolutely right. If prosecutors and district attorneys and others who are, elected to do their jobs correctly, the old saying, Contessa, is that you can indict a ham sandwich. Mm-hmm. So we know if they have the will and the desire, they can lead the grand jury to do so. We have to hold these people accountable. Perhaps we need to have them recuse themselves when such, at least police-involved shootings, police-involved shootings or cases are involved there. But on the other hand, with Bill Cosby, yes, step up to the plate. Don't allow fame, don't allow celebrity, don't allow the iconic status of a human being to dissuade us from doing the right thing and to holding him accountable when the evidence suggests that there's something potentially there.
Thank you so much for your time today. Michael Eric Dyson, great to talk to you.
Thank you. Great to talk to you.